Hey, welcome to episode 90. We're reaching places, this is episode 90. I can't believe I started this 90 times ago. It's 90 times I sit down and talk for hours, boy. Welcome to episode 90 of the Corey Shepherd Podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Remember, you could find this podcast anywhere on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Audible, anywhere you could find your audio thing, you could find it there. And also on YouTube for the video. Remember that this podcast comes out every Tuesday, despite, don't mind what nobody tell you. Every Tuesday morning when you wake up, this podcast going to be up there bright and early. I want to lose up front to my sister Janelle and my guy Justin. They're back in everybody back. Who had to send back what? And then I hear with all the talk, all them set nuts cake and thing. Last week episode, by the way, was split into two, I just letting all you know. So they had a conversation type episode with my sister and her son, as well as a regular episode where I just talk about the issues. So if you missed one of the two episodes last week, go back. But all they talk about nut cake and them thing was she carrying back and thing, they lost the luggage. somebody in one of them like the nut cake more than her. But anyway, let me jump into the thing that we are planning to talk about today. I want to pick up almost right where I left off from the last episode and say salute to Super Blue. Okay, now Hummingbird Gold, the National Award. I'm reading from the Newsday. This is from Sean Douglas. 5 calypsonians were among the recipients of the National Awards for 2021, presented on Wednesday by President Paula May Weeks at the President's House in St. Anne's. These were Austin Super Blue Lions, Alan Brother Mudada Fortune, Franz Delamo Lampkin Johnson. That is the Lamo name? No, Franz Delamo Lampkin. Johnson King, Johnny King. Johnny King name is Johnson King, who knew? Morel Peters, Luther. The awards were for music and culture. Lions was awarded the Hummingbird Medal Gold. The others were awarded Hummingbird Medal Silver. So, my first instinct, all you know miss you when I read this, right? As glad as I am for Super Blue. I want you to listen to what is said here as to the reasoning behind him getting the Hummingbird Gold Medal. Remember I was saying that we mightn't always know the reasoning of the panel, but they give us a little insight here. The President's House statement, Mr. Lyons, fondly known as Super Blue, has been consistent in his profession, winning 10 Road March titles and 7 Soca Monarch titles in his contribution to the cultural landscape of TNT over the last 41 years. He is viewed by his fellow artists as a trailblazer and has been a benchmark due to his successes. Lyons' songs range from Soca Baptist in 1980 to Soca Kingdom with Marshall in 2018. I want to count the amount of years between there, right? I always say Super Blue is the only artist to win a road march in 4 straight decades. Now, many people do it before, but many people win several titles. Of course, the 2 big ones in terms of road march titles will be Kitchener and Marshall Montano. But over 4 straight decades, I haven't seen anybody else do that. And remember that he's still putting out music now, right? So if you win in this decade here, which there are a point in time I used to doubt it. When I came up fetting, Super Blue was already, I don't want to say past his prime, but he surely wasn't Soca Baptist and Ethel and them things Super Blue. But he was dominating in the 90s with Get Something and Wave and the bunch of Wave songs now, Flag Party and them kind of thing, dominating the space. So by the time I start fetting late 90s and early 2000s, the wave was really Marshall. It wasn't Super Blue in the same way like how I hear my parents talk about Super Blue and thing. Or Blue Boy at that time, right? So I always used to doubt my father when my father say, boy, Super Blue could win he could come now and win a road march, and I say, yeah, right, there's no way, that ain't happening at all. And I remember my reaction when I hear Soca Kingdom for the first time in 2018. It was a rap. I was just glad that Marshall and Super Blue would do a collaboration too. But the collaboration itself was no favor nobody doing for nobody now, because as when you listen to Soca Kingdom good, Super Blue didn't do a whole lot in his song, But just his presence with that wine and fling it up, you can't imagine nobody else doing that. And I don't know if any other artist would have that same impact doing that. But 4 decades of road march. Afterwards, reporters Lyons, what message he had for, I don't know what news they do here. I think they're trying to say afterwards he had a message for the youngsters. He replied, he said, I say dream, have your dream, you must dream. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4. That song like a blasted road march too. I wonder if you can make that a song. Yeah, have a dream. You must dream. One step and 2 step and 3 step and 4. And 5 step and 6 step and 7 step and more. You have a dream. Anyway, yeah, I say dream. You have a dream. You must dream. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step and 4 and more. You must dream more. I still am going to dream because this is just the beginning. Understand when a man like that saying this is just the beginning, he mean that, because he might have something in his tuck that we ain't know about yet. And I guarantee you that 2023 Carnival gonna be the biggest carnival we ever had. Everybody, all who miss carnival, all who abstain, all who never invest money in carnival, everybody coming back to see this. This is gonna be the biggest one. So no doubt he has something to release. Lampkin has excelled in social commentary, performed for charities, mentored young calypsonians, and said president's house. So they're talking about Delamo now. In 1994, he won the South Trinidad Calypso Monarch, Young Kings, National Calypso Monarch jointly, and Caribbean King of King titles. I didn't know about that. A feat that is unmatched today. So they went on to talk a little bit more about all the people who got the awards, right? And I salute it. I'm glad to see. I was just talking about this last week, and my mother make sure and call me, and she said, plenty of your boys get awarded in the 2021 ceremony. So that's a good sign. You know, should I play my favorite Delamo song, boy? We could get into song so early in an episode, or if you're about hearing a song. But the thing about it is the quality of the song so low on YouTube. Let me see if it goes. A little unscripted here. Oh no, they have a decent version, man. Let me hear this. Hey, this is dedicated to everybody with arthritis, bursitis, sacroiliac. Every single itis you have this for you. Yes.
It's the same problem. They want to change my image, especially them women. We love how we love the music, the song that you're singing. But you have to improve your act. You got to bend down and do some whining. If you really want to gain importance, like a superstar, you are going to shine. When you get on the stage to give your performance,
yeah, my line.
If you only roll back and
wine and wine and wine and wine and wine and wine and roll your feet and ask me to wine.
Go ask me to wine. Go ask me to wine. Go ask me to wine. My lyrics always heavy. My music is very sweet. And if it compel you, woman, you can wine to the beat. But go ask me to wine.
I can't wine.
Go tell me to wine.
I can't wine.
Go ask me to wine.
I can't wine.
Go tell me to wine. Artists don't understand the role they play in society. It's just ram jam, behave like a monkey just to make people happy. Calypsonian, respect yourself. Understand your true potence. You are a teacher in your own right, guiding people from ignorance. So when I climb the stage with my heavy message, I want the fans bear this in mind. I don't want to miss a single word from my passage.
Yeah, my line.
And it would distract you if I
Wine and wine and wine and wine and wine and wine and roll it behind and go ask me to wine. Go tell me to wine. Go ask me to wine. I ain't pain and wine. It's pain when I wine. So I'm going back to my original thing where I went. What do you think with the Order of Republic and all these things? I want to know what these medals mean. So Salute to Chogdas, who would have been a calypsonian who received the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Again, it may be awarded to any person who has rendered distinguished and outstanding service to Trinidad and Tobago. Generally. So not specific to culture, arts, academics, business, not specific to anything. And Chogdas would have been somebody who won this. And the statement coming out of the president's house at that time, I think it would be 2019, was that, what do they say about him here, boy? The 78-year-old singer is a 9-time winner of the Calypso Monarch competition. So the point I'm making is this: it's not abnormal for competition to be cited as one of the reasons why somebody get an award. Because for Chogdas, they cite 9-time winner of the Calypso Monarch competition. For Super Blue, they say how much advertising is 7 times Soca Monarch and multiple times, I want to say 10 times Road March winner. So my question is this, right? Especially because they didn't say in the awards, the rank of the awards, at least in the way they describe them here. The Shakonia Medal comes after the Order of the Republic of Trinidad. May be awarded to any person or citizen who has performed long and meritorious service to Trinidad and Tobago, tending to promote the national welfare or strengthen the community spirit. They bypass that and give Super Blue Hummingbird Medal gold. May be awarded to any person who has rendered and devoted service beneficial to Trinidad and Tobago in any field of human endeavor or gallantry or other humane action. So this is the point I'm making, right? If I say, remember I tell you, if I push a child out of the way out of a car, or I save somebody, and we get into this Paria story, right, where somebody being hailed as a hero, I wouldn't be surprised if the person who dived and saved that one person in this Paria tragedy could be awarded a Hummingbird Medal. He could get gold, silver, or bronze, but let me say that he come and get a Hummingbird Medal gold for gallantry and bravery and so on. And we have a man who wants to go and fight in Ukraine. He left in here to go and fight in Ukraine. Sound familiar because there was some ISIS and some men went to go and fight with ISIS in Afghanistan. Remember that story? But that one wasn't so well accepted and loved in Trinidad and Tobago the way they see it. This man is a brave man for going and fighting in Ukraine. But Ukraine versus ISIS, right? So somebody asked me the other day, how come I ain't talking about Russia and Ukraine war? I don't care about these white people. But so I mean, it's clear that certain wars are more important than others. But let me go straight too far, right? The man who going and fight for Ukraine or somebody who saved somebody could get the same award that Super Blue gained. Or I have an issue with that. Why Super Blue wouldn't be considered for the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? The man is clearly one of the most dominant in his field, in whether you want to call it calypso, soca, kaiso, in culture in general. Let me read again. Even if you say, all right, he can't get the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, they say things about Super Blue and so on, and they might not want to give him the Order of the Republic. The Shakonia Medal may be awarded to people who have performed long and meritorious service to Trinidad and Tobago, tending to promote the national welfare or strengthen the community spirit. How much deliberation you had to do? Let me take each one of these at one at a time. Long and meritorious service. Long and meritorious service. Winning the Road March in 1980 with a song that fresh like hell today. I will play it now, just to make the points I'm making, right? The song he win with in 1990, which would have been his first Road March. If it played today, the song bad. So the point where when I saw him come on stage with Fayan and them, and he sing these same songs, which would have won a Road March in the 80s. Those songs gain the same kind of response that he gained for songs that he sing last year and year before. Hear this. Tell me if this song make in the 80s or if this song make now.
Listen to a prayer meeting, Baptist people preaching, with a leader in front, have people shaking. So I tell my partner, boy, let we get closer, because I tell myself I'm hearing soca. Though it was something to be spiritual,
Sing with me.
to me it was more like bacchanal. Oh Lord, yeah. People dancing, some jumping out of time. If you see Baptist woman wine sing, when they singing whoa, 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 whoa,
like Soca Baptist, like Soca Baptist, Soca Baptist. That is where you win with in 1980. How fresh that song in now. So when you tell me long and meritorious service, right? Minus 2018. I ain't going up to 2022. We still have song releasing this year. But I'm going back to 2018. If you just want to count the space between his last road marches alone, don't count nothing else. So long and meritorious, we established that promoting national welfare and strengthening community spirit. We questioning that about Super Blue. I just want to understand what it is under question when they come with these awards. So you can't give him Order of the Republic for what? I can't see why he wouldn't be considered for that. But even how you bypass Shakonia and go to Hummingbird Medal, when you see artists, I ain't going to call no names. When you see they refusing to accept national awards, you can't vex with them, you know. Because if I remember right, did Kitchener refuse a national award? Somewhere in my memory, let me Google it while I hear. Kitchener refused national award. I really can't remember. I believe as well that Leroy Clark they were trying to award him something, and he was like, "No, they hold all the award." But I can't remember right, so I don't want to say that for sure. But when you see people refusing it, I think these are the reasons that we need a clearer system where we understand what it is a man had to do to get Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And I salute to Chalk does, because for all the work he has done, in not just on the stage and in Calypso and so on, but also in academics. And I would argue that when you read the Order of the Republic description, nobody don't fit that better than Chalk does, or what is it? Any person or citizen who renders distinguished and outstanding service to Trinidad and Tobago. How could he not be considered for that when he's the most dominant person in his art form? But again, Super Blue is the most dominant person in his art form too. So, but leaving it alone. Salute to Super Blue. I'm glad that he get through with the award. I don't want to say get right. I'm glad that he was bestowed the award. He's more than deserving of a Hummingbird Medal. I would go as far as to say by 2019 it must have been long overdue why somebody like him was considered. And let me ask this too. When you get one award, you could get the next one? I wonder. I'm not sure. Because if you... Let's say that you... Wait now. I really shouldn't do this, but I'm now seeing something here. We spoke here before about... an artist called Jackie Hinkson, who does the mural on the street. I just want to say that he was awarded Shakonia Medal Gold. Salute to him too. But you understand the point again. I don't want to compare nobody's service to one another, but if he could be considered for Shakonia Gold, which I'm sure he deserves for his long and meritorious service in bringing people together, I think he's done that. How Super Blue could get an award that not at least on the same level as this is beyond me. Knees. I'm back. I want a Shakonia Gold, but Super Blue is Hummingbird Gold. Anyway, I'm coming off this. I don't want to sound like I promise I'll always go and open the episode on a positive note. So this was about positivity and about celebrating the fact that these artists have gotten what would be their just due or rewarded. You know how I feel about that. I find like we need to make sure that we continue to honor these people. As Luther was on this list, I'm trying to find my favorite Luther song and play that before we come off this topic. Yeah, now looking for it here and I ain't seen it, you know. The song go, you're born in Arima, grow up to Napuna, but kill your dead in your heart and your head, you belong to Jamaica. Your favorite radio station, number one in the nation, 96.1% Jamaican accent and a bam bam Jamaican, ayagaya, bam bam Jamaican. Listen, that was one of Luther. I hope that is Luther now. I'm doubting myself because searching for it here and I ain't finding it. But salute to all of them who win national awards. I hope that song was Luther. And I want to know what's the criteria on a mission. I want to know what's the criteria for people of the culture getting national awards and why it seems to be limited. Like we have a ceiling on the thing on. I ain't so sure. All right, what are we going on to next? I had to get back to this Paria story, right? Maybe I should do that one time. So, of course, rest in peace to those who would have passed and condolences to the families. We saw over the course of the past week the funerals and the people being laid to rest is a sad sight throughout. But I remember I tell you, I have a little bit of a personal connection to that. So salute to my boy Ver, and boy, my prayers with you. Thoughts and prayers to the Henry family at a time like this. But of course, the politicking don't stop. No amount of loss of life. You remember my boy Pablo tell me, Pablo say, boy, for a few days, everybody's be calling you, everybody checking on you. And we used to talk about people, high profile people like Ian Allen and Philip Alexander and these people, they behind you. And then eventually, people will forget, people will move on, a new scandal will come and you can't get onto these people again. And we're starting to see it happening now where it's starting to become opposition versus government. I shouldn't even say starting, it just showing itself even more. Because all the pro-UNC people or the pro-opposition people dig in the heels and that Paria is to blame and Paria do everything wrong and Paria is who kill these people and is murderers in Paria. And all the pro-PNM or the pro-government people starting to say, hey, let the investigation go on, it's in Paria and something hiding and the normal story. We back here again. So the Paria, the first thing we see coming out early last week was the Paria committee scrapped this from the Guardian. This from Anna Ramdas. Is the Guardian? What is this? This is the Express, Anna Ramdas. Prime Minister Keith Rowley last night announced that the 3-person commission of inquiry will be launched into the circumstances that led to the death of 4 divers. So they moved from a Paria committee, which Eugene Tia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Tia or Tia, would have resigned from because he said, listen, they're making this thing into a political football, and he not involved in that. Not his words, right? My words. So he stepped down. I'm not sure, there was somebody from BP and from Shell as well involved in this on that 3-person Paria committee. And that fall apart once Tia pulled out. I believe Tia was a former head of the energy chamber, if I'm not mistaken. He pulled out. So now we're going into commission of inquiry. And the commission of inquiry, I thought they said the commission of inquiry was 5 people, but now we have a 3-person commission of inquiry. So let me read on. Speaking during conversations with the Prime Minister, Rowley said the 5-member committee originally appointed to investigate the incident will be scrapped. Oh, sorry. It was a 5-member committee originally appointed, and then we go into a 3-person commission of inquiry. I've instructed today the Minister of Energy on behalf of the Cabinet to cancel the arrangement that was made public, and therefore there will be no 5-man committee of the experts that were made public. Because even before they've done the job, the population has been so riled up into not accepting any work that they've done that it's a waste of time. Oh, God. Rowley have a communications person? Maybe he needs somebody to help him write statements. Referring to the committee, he said, we have to cancel that and we're going to have a commission of inquiry because apparently that is what will satisfy... a commission of inquiry, because some people believe, let's play courthouse with it. We'll have an army of lawyers. We'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars if we can, certainly millions of dollars, and we'll bring a commission of inquiry. The main reason, according to our colleagues, is that we'll be able to call and summon and cross-examine all of these things. And of course, having done that, nobody's integrity will be at risk, nobody's attempt to cover up, and we'll certainly get it done that way. So again, I was talking about Paria versus LMCS last week, but even in the Prime Minister's statements, you're starting to hear where it's starting, the focus are already shifting away from those who have lost their lives and the families of those who have lost their lives. So I hope that when this commission of inquiry takes flight, that it brings some level of closure to the family. I don't think it will, to be honest with you, because again, in the wise words of Pablo, all that don't matter when you lost your son. So I remember going through one moment with Pablo, right? There's something that opened my eyes a lot to these things. I remember being so upset about the way... Now, just to give some backstory, Pablo's son, I'll talk to him before I put this out there, but if you ain't here, if you ain't here this party, you know it. I just want to make sure you're okay with me talking about this. But his son's death was labeled as a suicide. It was national news and all that. Salute to my boy, and rest in peace to Japol. It was labeled as a suicide. And I was with Pablo when he get that news. And I know this boy, a little boy. Of course, me and Pablo is partners since I in Fatima. You know what I mean? Pablo is a neighbor I grew up with in the area, right? And I remember being with Pablo when we heard that news. We, you know me, I don't like to come out my house, so we were planning. He and my good brother Damien, that's the old St. James squad. We say we're going up in the what is it called that place? Paprika. We say we're going up in Eureka and we're gonna have a time. We're bringing back the old time days. You know what I mean? So they get me to come out my house. I don't like to come out. So I say, you know what? My only hope is to go up by my mother in St. James, because if I stay home in Shogunas here, I ain't leaving home to go up in Eureka. So I say, all right, I up by my mother and I dress it and think, bam, I get a call. They say Japol commit suicide. I said, what the hell is this I hear here? What are you talking about? And at that moment, all plans for Paprika and thing out the door. I want to go down the road and see. I want to see what happened. I want to see him, you know what I mean? This is your son. This is your firstborn. This is unbelievable, you know what I mean? And well, we end up going to Eureka still, right? That's another story. I don't know if Pablo was shocked by the news, something went wrong, and he didn't want to go immediately. But of course, when I leave Paprika, I went back by Pablo. I spent the whole night just to stay with him, boy, because he is devastated. I mean, I devastated, and I just say no next time and watching him going through these emotions, and I don't want to leave him. It's too much. Pablo living by himself at that time. I don't want to leave him home by himself with that thing. And eventually, when we gather ourselves and think this Saturday morning now, we going down Shogunas where this thing happened. And let me tell you something, me and no, I could never get no award for gallantry and these types of things. If it's at a coward award, they might have quicker give me that. But when we reached down there and I meet the guy who he was with when they say he commits suicide, his girlfriend and another fellow was a part of the scene. Let me put it like that. Where the story was going like, he and the girlfriend fall out, and he partner as well was there with them. And when they fall out bad, they leave with the children. This is the girlfriend and the partner and the children. All of them leave, and then he lock himself in the place and hang himself. Let me tell you something. That story never add up to me. From the time, and now I want to appreciate something, right? Me being the naive one who don't like confrontation and don't like fight and thing. In my whole life, two people, Pablo and many faces, has always be the ones to come and tell me, boy, people taking you for a fool. I remember Pablo, a man like to cuss too, just like myself. So sometimes I talk about something with contractor and this and that, and boy, I get the man the money up front. Pablo don't pour water anymore to say nothing. Pablo says a fool or what? But this fool, the word he's used for fool is started to see, right? And he say, you can't trust people, but it's stupid or what? You cannot trust people. That is the type of person Pablo is generally. And he's always keep on track with that kind of thing, right? And I find like Pablo is buying this story, this youth man telling Pablo what happened. And Pablo, I think his grief and his shock and all that put together. And I remember having to pull Pablo physically away. And I was like, Pablo, that little boy not telling you the truth. And I said, let me tell you this. I said, look, this not adding up. And I think that moment something went off in Pablo's mind. I said, Pablo, them boys and them do Japol something, you know. Me and saying, you never know what's a man frame of mind. And I don't know much about suicide, so you can't say, well, who do this or who. All I saying is the story not adding up. And I know Pablo would do that for me in that moment. So I pull him and I say, boy, this is his story. So with that, the family reach out to people like Ian Allen and them and try to get the public involved, because when we went by the police station to tell the police and them, listen, the story not adding up, the boy, the senior man in Shogunas police station say outright, that case closed, that is a suicide. Listen, down to the point where they went and paid for the next autopsy, because the man did not know most of the mark, the things that normal with a suicide, it's just from the movies, right? If you know, hanging yourself, what happened if you pop your neck or the rope thing in your neck, none of them things, the boy looking normal, but you have a big like wound in the back of his head, and it's like, so somebody hits him or something. And I could be wrong about all this, but as a family, you go want investigation done to try to figure out what has happened, just to give yourself that closure. You can't just go on thinking, well, your son commits suicide, but he's under the strangest set of circumstances. That must affect somebody else later on in life. That affecting the people who left behind. But we have a society here where if you ain't any money and you have the drive to pay for your own autopsy, get your own lawyers to pursue something, or make something international story where the Prakash Ramadas and the Anand Logans of this world will show up and represent you in some way, boy, crap will smoke your pipe. So he had to just eat that story, and that is why he keeps saying, listen, this thing gonna die down eventually, and then nobody could be interested in this. The reason he keeps saying that is because that's what he went through with his son. It was a big national story. Ian Allen come. The little, when you buy a chair for them little children, they sell you these little plastic chair. They say that is what he stand up on to hang himself. Listen. When Ian Allen put his foot on the chair, which I find was strange because I think about this evidence, you can't just mash it up on this kind of thing. But Ian Allen put his foot, from the time he put his foot on the chair, the whole chair break apart. So how that would be the same chair he stand up on? But anyway, getting too deep into that. The point I'm making is that the focus of this now starts to become about who is to blame between Paria versus the people who going against Paria. Somehow, LMCS skillfully have themselves out of this completely. I just salute the people from LMCS, notwithstanding that they would have lost somebody to where one of the directors of the company, I understand, would have been lost in this tragedy. But I find it so strange that the fight just become the people against Paria. That is a real odd thing, and I think it's the way it might just be the way everything being reported, I suppose. I don't know. Because I am assuming, with our company, we are contractors for different people as well. But I could tell you, in our case, we ain't making no national story or anything, right? We're not doing that kind of business, and we ain't that big anyway. But if something happened with one of our employees, that is our employee, It don't matter who we contracted by and who, it does not matter. That's our employee. So as far as I'm concerned, we taking responsibility for that. I'm not into this kind of thing. And that's who I am personally. I listen to myself when I'm trying to blame somebody else for something that happened. Something happened to an employee, and I don't want to blame this one and this one, do that and this one. I listen to myself very carefully when I'm doing that. And I say, hey, it don't matter. The person passed away. And I've been in the situations before where we have lost employees more than once in more than one country. And I could tell you that our first instinct is, what can we do to help this situation now? Because you have a family who left behind, who have a ton of grief and a ton of issues to deal with, but also funeral expenses and those things to face, which could be a source of issues as well. And that's why I say salute to LMCS for coming out immediately and saying that they're covering the cost of the funeral of all these people. I think that was a great move. I would have probably done the same thing. And grief counseling for the people who left behind, I would have probably done the same thing. I would have said, for the people who here, you have a rough time now. Your children, your wife, and so on is a lot to be done. And I'm sure that somewhere along the line, whatever insurance is, especially for a dangerous job like that, there would be some sort of a settlement for the families eventually. So I don't know if the play is to get a bigger settlement because Paria involved, but I just find it real odd that the contractor themselves just coming out squeaky clean in this thing, like you had no responsibility for the safety of your employees. It's just Paria's fault, almost before the investigation is done. So, as a podcaster, I feel comfortable coming and say that here, but I just don't think that the Prime Minister should come out and say, well, it was a waste of time anyhow, so we're going to put a commissioner inquiry. But apart of waste, as much as I don't support him saying that, I think you're right. Going to a commissioner inquiry now. And when I hear commissioner inquiry, the first thing I remember is the commissions of inquiry into the 1990 coup. And I don't know, a part of me felt like when they do the commissioner inquiry, so there are people that get arrested and people that get... But the reality is that nothing will happen. By the time they come to do the commissioner inquiry, the coup is not no big thing again. They do that 20, 30 years after the coup. I don't know how big it is. So, hopefully this commissioner inquiry brings some level of closure to the families involved, but I don't know if it will. I want to read something about following on from this story. The Express through Kimberly Wallace had done a story from a diving instructor calling for accountability. PADI scuba instructor Pravir Parsutan has been diving since the age of 12. Naturally, the underwater world is his domain. Because Parsutan is so protective of his profession, he has chosen to speak out against companies that use scuba divers to do jobs that should be reserved for commercial divers. He also sounded the warning about halfway commercial diving schools, which he says are ill-equipped to train scuba divers in that specialized field. Knowing how to scuba dive, having some problems saying the word scuba dive. Knowing how to scuba dive does not automatically mean one can do the work of a commercial diver. Parsotan explained the difference. Having problems with all words. What we as recreational scuba divers use is a tank, a compressed air cylinder that will allow you about an hour in shallow depth to recreationally dive in a controlled and relaxed environment. With commercial diving, you're burning energy because you're at work. One has the additional weight of tools and equipment for welding, cutting, and other physical labor, so you would require more air. If you try to breathe off a scuba tank while doing hard work, you will finish the tank in a half hour. That's why commercial divers use air surface supply, where there's a compressor connected to hoses which supplies as much air as the divers require for as long as they are working underwater. Now, I do a real terrible job reading that, right? This was a struggle. This is a struggle morning when it comes to the reading. So just go by the Express and look for dive instructor, calls for accountability. This was one of the things I was thinking during the time, right? If you have a tank that's supposed to last you, let's say the tank is last you 2 hours. I think if you're under pressure, and you're in the unfortunate situation where you're stuck in a pipe and them thing. I know myself personally, I would have breathed out a whole tank. I tell all him a story about the MRI the other day, right? He went on to say in Trinidad we are very laxed in the sense that we let scuba divers do commercial diving work. That should not be so. You need to be trained to know how to handle dangerous situations that may arise. Now, I was glad that he came out and said this because when you think of the risks associated with that kind of work, I would want to always know for the national psyche, if not for the safety of the individuals and the families involved and so on. I would always want to know that if I am working for a company, they're giving me all the necessary tools and all the necessary training to do this job. If you're going in somewhere as an admin assistant and you don't get training and you don't get tools, it's an inconvenience. But if you're going in somewhere as an underwater welder that going and you have to swim into 3-foot pipes, which I still can't fathom up to today. I think lack of training and lack of the proper tools is putting everybody involved at risk. It's putting all of us at risk when we do that. So I want to echo the call of Parsotam, who is talking about just making sure. So the commissioner inquiry, nothing according to Pablo. No, I was telling you about, I think I lost this story in Pablo, the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make with Pablo, right? There was a point at which we turned into Magnum PI and Kojak and them. We was investigating everything and working out everything. And there was a point at which both of us kind of realized nothing we doing here ain't gonna bring back Japo. And at that point I was like, okay, we need to figure out how to move on from this, or how to ask for the answers involved with the complete knowledge that no matter how well we do and how much more investigation come and who get arrested and think nothing we going to bring him back. And that's what I want us to establish about the commissioner inquiry as well, because even if on behalf of the families, nothing going to bring back Yusuf to the Henry family. But I do feel as if we have the opportunity to change the industry, change the way we operate it. So I saw as well that Paria was suspended. Both Paria and LMCS were suspended from doing any type of underwater work or maintenance. And I think that's a good move. That is a positive move coming out of this whole incident, because then it allows us to review not just this particular thing. And I think if we getting anything out of a commissioner inquiry, forget who getting locked up on them thing, because it could be just like the coup that not happening, right? What we need out of this commissioner inquiry more than anything else is where were the failures? Forget who is to blame for a minute. Where were the failures? How did we fail these 3 people and their families and the national community? How did we fail? And say, all right, from now on, this is what we do where divers are concerned. This is how we sign off. This is what equipment they need. Like, there was another article talking about this same commercial versus recreational divers. And one of the things the guy was saying was what they call hat and line. He said one of the if you want to understand what hat and line is, there's a movie with Robert De Niro and I was going to say Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. and Robert De Niro, right? Where it was about Navy diving, and they had this big heavy suit that they had to put on, and there was a line connected to the helmet that was feeding oxygen to you from the shore. Now, one of the things that the guy was saying, which I was unsure about, and I mean, he's the expert, so I had to go with what he's saying, right? But he was saying that if they had had a line, none of these things would have happened because they would have had a feed of oxygen in the tank. But the way the survivor of this came out and spoke this week, it's like the line could have burst, the hat could have come clean. I'm not sure how he's so sure that with that suction that they get pulled into the pipe with the hat and line would remain. You know what I mean? It's a strange thing to say, especially when the talk was about delta P or differential pressure. So much of these videos you see about differential pressure, the whole line was cut and all them things. So I'm not sure how he understand, but I understand where he's coming from in terms of a feed of oxygen from the land, so you could stay down there longer. You don't have to worry about how much more oxygen left in your tank, or if you panic and you breathe too much, your oxygen running out and them things. But also you have communication within the helmet, so that you could talk to people on shore at all times, or you have cameras on you, people have a GoPro. You see the helmet have a GoPro built in, so I could see what the diver's seeing and just get a sense of what happens in case of emergency. Whereas the story that came out, they have this hyperbolic chamber. This is way above me, hyperbolic chamber, like I'm supposed to know what that is. But it seems to be something that allows you to have a air pocket underwater so you can enter the pipe. So they had communication in there and they had video in there. So when they lost communication, that's how they know they had an emergency. Now, I want to get real quick to the story about the survivor's story. The headline is "The Day I Cheated Death." This is by Anna Ramdas in the Express story. And this is the story of Christopher Boudram. This is the one person who survived this tragedy. And for the sake of a commissioner inquiry, whatever version of this it takes to get to the truth, because I interested in the truth behind the story, more so than the blame and stuff. I'm interested in figuring out, what really went wrong. This whole Paria stopped us from going back into the water, and we went back and we saved the same person. And I was looking at Rhoda Barrett's live from News Source as well. And she does a great job breaking down these things and has more knowledge than I would ever have in these stories, because she seems to get a lot of information from several different stories. People are their sources. I guess that's what I call it, News Source, right? And she's saying that the person who's saying they saved the thing, I think it was Ronnie Ramuta, he's not the person who saved it, somebody else had saved him and so on. But I don't know about that. I'm reading directly from the Express. 2 weeks after he stared death in the face, Christopher Boudram, the lone survivor of the Paria tragedy, which claimed 4 of his colleagues, has unburdened all to the Sunday Express. He feels deeply that his friends could have been rescued as he left them alive in air pockets in the Paria pipeline. Now, I'll go into some specific parts of this because there's a lot that he said, and there's a long article. If you want the article, just search for "The Day I Cheated Death," Anna Ramdas, it will come up, right? He said criminal charges should be proffered against Paria, which declared his colleagues dead, and the Coast Guard, which prevented rescue efforts. Boudram, 36, who appeared visibly shaken and unable to walk properly or use his bruised left arm, spent 3 hours recalling what took place on that dreaded day. Let me go to where he's talking. He said, here's a blow-by-blow account of the tragic day, now subject to the Commission of Inquiry. On February 25th, he woke up at 4 a.m. to get to work early. He did his normal morning routine of prayer, exercise, breakfast, and headed to Paria around 5:30 a.m., which was about 2 minutes from his home. He went on to say, the 5 divers boarded the barge and went out to the habitat. Up to now, I didn't understand what's the habitat, assuming the habitat is just offshore, like the sea. 4 of them dived into the water and swam to the entrance of the hyperbaric chamber. You see how bad I am? I say hyperbolic. Hyperbaric chamber, right? When you enter the chamber, you take off your dive gear, because inside there is a dry space. We have an air hose from the barge that comes through to the top of the chamber into compressors that are pumping air to keep the space dry. It's all under the water, but that space is dry. So assume you're swimming with your tank on your back, you get on in there, and then you could breathe normally in that hyperbaric chamber. That morning, the job entailed taking off a blank metal plate, taking out the first plug, and then a second plug, putting down a half pipe on it, join a new piece of riser to the old riser, bolted down, and that was it. I suppose that was simple, I guess. I don't know. He said, adding there was a camera on the wall as well as an emergency radio. That's inside the hyperbaric chamber, right? He said Kazim Ali Jr. was the last to enter the chamber as he came to check on them. We had just removed 2 plugs when Ali Jr. entered the chamber and the whole room just filled up with water and started to flood out in an instant. He said, I tried to jump out and I just remember being in something like a tornado and getting beat around in there. After that, I remember being inside the pipe and getting flushed down. And it felt like 50 to 100 miles per hour. I remember hurtling in that pipeline and at an unimaginable speed. It felt like I was in a tornado. I remember trying to stop myself in the pipe and it was just skating. That is why this man gonna need a lot of counseling now, because that is a real scary experience. On top of that, you're losing your friends. I told myself in my mind, this is the end. Mom, I'm coming. Father, open the gate. Let me see what the next side is. My chest started tightening. My throat was making a noise. My heart was racing and slowing down at the same time. I thought that was it. He said his mother died in January from heart disease. Budram said he held his breath throughout the period and then he felt his movement beginning to slow down. He said he fell into an air pocket of the pipeline and started to gasp for breath. Now, the air pocket, I couldn't understand that either. In my little layman brain, I thinking, okay, it's a pipe. So maybe when you have a thing flowing through a pipe, it don't go all the way to the top of the pipe. It might stop short and you have a little space to breathe on top. But he explained, he said air pocket, he explained, is part of the pipe that is not completely filled with water, but empty, semi-dry, and will allow one to breathe without a tank. So, I guess he said the diving equipment. I don't understand. Because what I was trying to figure out, right, is if you have a tank on your back and you have to go, did they have to go into the pipe like as part of the normal work? I don't understand that. If you had to go into the pipe, can you go into that 36-inch pipe or 30-inch pipe, as Paria is saying, with a tank on your back? I don't know, like you could do that? Does it have enough space? But he said the seabed is not flat and therefore the pipeline is shaped with the contours of the seabed and would not be completely filled with water but have a number of air pockets. He said he started dragging himself along the pipeline, which is about 36 inches in diameter, using his elbow and feet for about 10 minutes in the air pocket before he heard Ali Jr.'s voice. I was on my back. I began crawling and dragging myself feet first along the pipeline when I started to hear screaming. I tell myself them fellas outside and looking for me. I yell back, I come in. I inside the pipe, I come in. He said he heard a voice shout back, me too. I inside the pipeline too, boy. It's me, Kaz boy. Budram said he shouted to Ali Jr. that he was coming, but he couldn't see anything as it was pitch black, and he could not tell exactly where Ali Jr. was, so he continued dragging himself along the air pockets of the pipeline. Now, it was a long article, right? I can't read all of it, but I'll give you the summary. He went on to say that he basically they were in an air pocket. All 4 of them, he's saying, was in the air pocket. But Yusuf, he said, was badly damaged. He said Yusuf telling me handbrake and the foot brake, so he can't crawl out. And that's all that I was trying to envision, like, if you're in a 36-inch pipe, like, how you swimming out of there? Because he said when he reached the end of the air pocket, he was going to swim through, and he swam for about 20 minutes before he reached another air pocket. Now, I don't understand. It's too hard. All these is things where our commissioner inquiry could shed light onto this incident for me, because you can't swim for 20 minutes without. Let me put myself, because I'm a diver. I can't swim for 20 minutes without breathing. So if you swim for 20 minutes, you could swim for 20 minutes in a pipe without breathing, in panic mode, I don't know. And he said the person who was right behind him, he told him that, listen, wait for him. But he said he can't wait. He go and get help. And he swim through, he find the next air pocket. And then he reached back the vertical part of the pipe. And he was able to, I don't know if he swim up or climb up from there. And then is when he said Ramuta came to the rescue. He saw Ramuta and they gave him an oxygen tank and he was able to swim back up to the habitat. I assume the habitat is the surface. Let me just assume that, right? But it's just so much that I don't understand about the story. I don't know if I don't know I have people who listen who in this field and so on. So maybe you could help me shed light on this. Because if you're in a hyperbaric chamber, is it that all the work you would typically do is within that chamber? So all you need the tank for is to swim down in there, do the work, and then you put back on your tank and swim out? Or is there a reason that these guys have to enter a pipeline like that? I do not understand how you swim through water. Like, what stroke you using to get through water in a 36-inch pipe? It's so confusing to me. And 20 minutes worth of swimming. Although I could understand where, even in reading this story from the Express, right? A part of me keeps saying, listen, This man would be obviously extremely afraid, extremely panicked. Went through a whole lot down there. No time to slow down when you're going through an emergency. But I'm not sure that the human brain is designed well to recount issues when you had a major problem. Like if you ever get in a car accident, everything is slowed down and everything. But when you're trying to recall the story, you yourself will be trying to piece together things to see. Your brain trying to put it back together. Although everything is real vivid and clear to you at the time, I'm not sure if the part of the brain that is dealing with your memory and them things put that together very, very well. But I mean, what the thing that I'm really, really happy about is that at least we have one survivor who will tell his story. He already said that his position is already that Paria failed them. Paria set him up and he leave his friends for dead. I think the most hurtful part of it from his viewpoint is, I tell my friends I was coming back for them. You could see that haunting him, boy. And listen, thoughts and prayers with him, because he tell his friends he coming back, and then he obviously couldn't come back, but he still seemed to be blaming himself for that. And then on top of that, the rescuers, which he thought he was going to get for his friends, he said he hearing them banging the pipe and all that, they never came back. So at least for the purpose of the commission inquiry, and at least at this point in time, he's saying that he willing to talk. It's clear that he willing to talk, and he wants to show how Paria failed him and his friends. So, I mean, thoughts and prayers to all of them involved. Now, another Express article that I found very, very interesting at the beginning of this week. Headline, PM, it was me. This is by Ria Tate, right? Although he was previously reluctant to admit it, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has confirmed that he was the high-ranking official who met with the then Police Service Commissioner, Commissioner Bliss C. Prasad, at the President's house and provided her with information with respect to Police Commissioner Gary Griffith. Now, there's a tricky one for me, I don't know what the Constitution says as to how this should work, but I could tell you from a little 1 year studying government in UE that you see this separation between different arms of governance is an important thing. It's supposed to have a separation. You see the state is the state. The different things make up the state. It's at the legislature, the parliamentary, whatever it's called that. It's at the judiciary. It's at the police, the church. It have several different elements. The media that will make for good governance overall, right? So that you have enough checks and balances and stuff. Now, he said this pretty coolly in the article. Basically just saying that this just happens to be the selection time when we was, in the process of choosing the new commissioner or deciding if to reappoint the commissioner. It just so happened that was the timing. But he would almost as if once I had this information, I would have taken it to the head of the Police Service Commission anyway. But it just so happened to be when they had the new list and so on. Now, a part of his defense is that he has, as a prime minister, different to any other prime minister before him, according to his account, put several people in place who may not be PNM people. I'm going to put it like that, right? So I think he put Anthony Smart. Did he say Vasan Barrett as well? No, he didn't put Vasan. He didn't say Vasan Barrett, but that would have been one of them as well who he make appointments for. Although I'm not sure where Vasan Barrett stands now, if he's UNC PNM or what exactly his allegiance is. He quote Gypsy. Robert Myers was a former NAR person. I don't think that matters, Rowlers. No, nobody will study NAR again. Anthony Smart was also NAR. But Gypsy was a UNC person. And he said, and the government also appointed Winston Gypsy Peters, former UNC minister, as chairman of NCC. I don't think that's the best example either. I think he also ran for PNM for Maruga, if I remember right. And my memory is so great, but I think I remember that. He said then, we didn't go out there and pluck Gary Griffith and say he's our man. The Police Service Commission sent a list to us, and Gary Griffith had a good kind of profile to face the criminal element. He was a military man and talked a good talk. But most importantly, he was screened by the Police Service Commission and ranked number 4 on the merit list. Now, this has been one of Gary's arguments, right? That he way outshined anybody in terms of his experience from a military standpoint. And there was some kind of test which he did much better than everybody else. So his question was, why is he placed number 4 on the merit list? I also find is a valid question. And this is where I have a difficulty with the Prime Minister not just interfering, let me not say interfering in the process, meeting with the Police Service Commission directly to give feedback on a sitting police commissioner, especially given our history when we had so many years without a police commissioner. And one of the biggest problems you have in this country is crime. Crime is one of the reasons now I'm studying whether we should stay here or we should ride out. I don't want to go through this. I'm not going through that thing where man kicking in your door and you helpless in your house. I ain't going through that. And one of the options is to get out of here. So, with crime being such an important issue, a police commissioner is a critical part of solving that issue. And all the governments, all the let me say political parties, all the proposed political parties who are running for government, a big part of their campaign is always crime. But these are the things that make me feel like Ole ain't taking crime seriously, because it's not affecting Ole. It don't reach home by you. So you unaffected by it, so it's whatever. The Prime Minister meeting with his Police Service Commission, particularly to give feedback on a sitting commissioner, does not look right to me. I don't know if our constitution is allowed it, so I'm not saying that Rowley doing something wrong. Maybe he doing the right thing and that's what he's supposed to do. I am saying that if that is the case, that is something we have to look over in our constitution. That needs a change. I'm not saying that they can't give feedback, but I think the feedback that a Prime Minister given to a Police Service Commission in the presence of the President should be made public. Whether they have to do it in Parliament so that it's on the Hansard, it should be public. These people should not have private meetings to talk about what a police commissioner doing. So put it this way. Let's assume Rowley Big Son. You want to know you deny. Let's assume Rowley Big Son. Just go joking, right? That's a joke. Let's assume that he involved in some kind of racketeering or some kind of crime that the police commissioner is under his stewardship being investigated by the police and he in charge of the police force, right? Is it then that the Prime Minister could coolly meet with the head of this Police Service Commission and give feedback to say, this is why I've lost confidence in this person? And then it goes to whether it is you're doing this based on the advice of the Prime Minister or not. When the list get pulled back and then sent back with all the name of the person who, or asterisks by the name of the person who the Prime Minister had issues with, are we comfortable living in a society where that happened? Because forget Trinidad for a while, because I know we trust one another and we love one another and we work carnival, and once we fet and think for carnival, we have a good time for Christmas, Eid and Diwali, we don't really study nothing. Think of Mexico for a minute, especially if you watch Narcos and you realize the level of corruptibility that has happened, particularly with Narcos Mexico, right? Narcos Colombia was bad, but Narcos Mexico was because, or if you ever watch the series El Chapo, where you see the Attorney General working directly with El Chapo, getting things done, organizing a bus. So he telling El Chapo, here we're going on a running back for election. I want to bus one of your cocaine runs. What I go do, I go send it back for you, right? But let me bust that so I could get a front page story so I'll look like if I solve any cocaine thing, I'll run that cocaine right back to you. Them things documented. Or a situation where men outright rigging a voting system to get back in power. And when the digital rigging didn't work too well and they get found out about that, the men send gangsters by every polling station and tell them change the number on the we not there, right? I don't want to say yet either to call it on ourselves that we there. But when you have a Prime Minister who our constitution, let's assume that it allows for a meeting where you could express your displeasure with the person. I want to say that there's no commissioner who has ever sat in that seat as commissioner, or nobody who ever sits in any job where there's somebody who could come and say, all right, I don't like how the person do this, I don't like this, I lost confidence in the person. Your loss of confidence is your opinion. As informed as it might be, that is your opinion about the person. So you giving your opinion, but your opinion so weighted that a list could go back and the man could be removed. That I think that is dangerous business. And again, I'm not saying anything was wrong that he do, because he might have been well within his right to do it. I think if that is the case, we need to change the rules, change the constitution. Whatever governs this, change it. Let us not assume that it's always going to be Rowley and Kamala who we love and thing in power. It go as somebody in power who we hate completely. And that person could say, hey, here what's going on? The only person could be commissioner of police in this country is so by so. And when they put so by so there, is because so by so carrying out all the wishes of that Prime Minister. That is a dangerous precedent. I want to read some of what he say here, because some of it was so worrying. He said Griffith has been a huge disappointment. He demonstrated all the negatives in a substantial way. And in his discontinuation with the office, did not come overnight. I had opportunity and reason to speak to Griffith on a number of occasions while he was serving as Commissioner of Police because he was going off track. One of the first tracks he went off was that he always had this attitude that he is not going to recognize the Minister of National Security or the presence of a minister. As head of cabinet, I couldn't tolerate that. He quoted as saying, from time to time, I had to guide him back to the fact that you have a minister to report to. And don't try to report to me on your matters. If it is a matter of national security issue, as the chairman of the National Security Council, that is a different story. But in terms of bypassing the minister to deal exclusively with the Prime Minister, I was not encouraging that. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair criticism. And if you have a commissioner, not just a fair criticism, but I could see Gary doing that. Gary, when you want to talk to the Prime Minister and think he ignoring the Minister of National Security, even though he was a Minister of National Security before. Unfortunately, everything we see publicly from Gary supports that could have well be done. The issue is this. If you have an issue with that, I want that issue to be public. That should be no private meeting. If it reached to the point where you're losing confidence in him, come and state it publicly so that we could as a society see what happened and get involved in addressing it, rather than it feeling like you just don't like Gary and you move him. Because think of it as simple as this, right? In a normal job where you work in, if you're doing something, let's say you're bypassing your boss and you go into somebody else and it goes against your employment contract, I cannot just simply go to industrial court and say, well, I lost confidence in him and so I send him home. The industrial court go down and watch me and say, yeah, what? All right, well, here what? Write a confidence check to him for wrongful dismissal. You know where I'm coming from? It's at a due process. But part of the due process is you explain to them, because the person could have make a mistake. They could have just not know. You explain to them and those types of things and so on. And then if it continues to happen, you say, well, all right, I realize I talked to you about this, but I want to put some things in place that will help you with this. So something to help remedy the situation with the person. You know what I mean? And then it goes to a warning letter and a second warning and a final warning and then a dismissal for cause. And all these different things had to be done so that I show some form of a reason in the court or a paper trail to show exactly how I came up with this. A due process, right? But I have to do that for somebody who might be the most junior employee. I'll go and justify why it is I send this person home, right? But at the highest levels of this country, where the person is not your employee, you could keep all this behind closed doors, all this undocumented, and then influence the decision to have that person removed in a covert way. And it's just business as usual. I'm telling you, this is, because we deal with these employment things, these things so tricky. I don't want to end up in court for nothing. And I also don't want to have to write no employee, no check who was going against the employment contract. Let me just leave it at that, right? But it seemed to be that here you could just say you couldn't tolerate that. You're right for not tolerating it, but where's the due process? Where's the public due process that we went through? So I could say, you can't just come and say I had several conversations. You could say on this date we had a conversation about this. This is what was the outcome. On this date, this was his response. Give him an opportunity to respond to all them things. But anyway, so secondly, he had a horrible way of dealing with the public, and I had to caution him on that. Not that I could tell the commissioner how to commission. So wait, let me read them two things back to back, right? He had a horrible way of dealing with the public, and I had to caution him on that. And then goes on to say, not that I could tell the commissioner how to commission. He said, but I could tell him that the way he's dealing with the public was not what was expected from a commissioner of police. And of course, there was the issue of him disrespecting the office of the Prime Minister. So I have to assume that the way he was dealing with the public could have been one or two things. It could have been the Wessels versus Zessels situation where he was running in and making people say, sorry, Gary, on the beatum. But in the West, he couldn't go in Bayshore or Bayview or whichever bay it was, right? And the issue of disrespecting the office of the Prime Minister. Careful with your words, eh? Disrespecting the office of the Prime Minister could have been when he say the Prime Minister can summons him. Listen, I don't think the Prime Minister should be able to summons a commissioner police. And I feel like if our constitution allows for that, let us make it into a public thing. Let us make it into something where we could hear the minute the meeting, Hansard it or whatever. Or do it and you see how you have conversations with the Prime Minister and you and Hans Devines and things sit down. You and Hans Devines and things sit down and let me talk through, guy. I want to hear what the conversation is. So that we understand as a public, before the commissioner is removed, we understand clearly what are the issues that the Prime Minister has with the commissioner of police. And also whether he is within his right to have those issues or not. I need to know that it's not your son running a racket and you deciding that this commissioner going too hard on your son, so you're removing him, or forget his son. Or that you running a racket. You have a voting racket going on. And the commissioner of police is the one who the DPP giving instruction to go and investigate this thing. And the Prime Minister saying, nah, we don't want here again. Danger, again, don't think of it in terms of Trinidad, because we like here and we trust everybody and we love all the ones who we don't like, we love them still. I hate to think of countries like Mexico where the level of corruption is on 1,000. And the government ministers and the Prime Minister himself, even in Narcos, there was a point at which the president, or if it was president or prime minister, Narcos Colombia that is, had to step down, if I'm not mistaken, because he was seen outright collecting campaign funding from the Narcos. So just put yourself in those situations and you'll see why I'm saying that is dangerous. But he went on to say that all that could have been, so he said FUL was the problem. He said all that was salvageable because people have different perspective and personalities. All this songing like this is your boss. And I don't think the Commissioner of Police is reporting to or should be reporting to the Prime Minister. If the line is going through the Minister of National Security and you're accusing them of bypassing the line to get to you, you don't bypass the line either. Let it be the Minister of National Security. He said all that was salvageable because people have different perspectives and personalities. And even if one could have tolerated all that, when I started to get information as national chairman of as chairman of the National Security Council, I suppose that's the caveat. If you're chairman of the National Security Council, you're involved, okay. But just remember that, go back to Narcos again, right? Is a loophole. Because it means that if I want to get involved in the removal of a commissioner of police, what I could do is appoint myself as the chairman of the National Security Council, because nobody can stop me from doing that, and then I could deal with the commissioner of police myself. So this and all had to go if you ask me. From what I believe to be credible sources, there were serious problems within the police service with the way that the commissioner was running the police service, especially with respect to issue of firearms and ammunition and persons doing business in that sphere. I got concerned. He said, I wanted to find out if there was a possibility of identifying whether this was gossip here or whether there was substance. And on this very table at which we were sitting at, I guess for the conversation, I took the decision to find two appropriate people. Former Special Branch Head Arthur Barrington and former Chief of Defense Staff Hayden Pritchard, to go and examine what I was being told. These were retired officers. They weren't picked up off the streets. These were people who served at the highest levels in sensitive areas in this country. And I thought they were two public servants of impeccable integrity, and they could do the job. They told them what I was hearing. And to go out there and see whether there was a modicum of substance there. They undertook the assignment and submitted a very troubling report. That then caused me to advise the Police Service Commission that there was a problem there. They just happened to be in the process of evaluating the candidates for the position. So it just so happened that when he get his report, they was evaluating people. And he couldn't stand by and let that happen, right? He said, but I told you that if you want to call my name, because I am the only person in cabinet who goes to see the president. This was when he was responding to them, asking him if he was the high-ranking official. So that was basically a yes. The Express has reported that the joint report stated there was a thriving, well-oiled, white-collar criminal enterprise in respect of the granting of FUL and other restricted licenses being conducted under the nose of Griffith. So that we went through that here already as well. And the thing about that, my initial response to that maybe 10 episodes ago was that while that may be true, I don't think that was only going on under the nose of Gary Griffith. Maybe we could excuse Stephen Williams because apparently he ain't approved none he decided that nobody is to get no FUL. And maybe, in hindsight, the reason he doing that is because he know it was corrupt and corruptible. And he was just doing his job and making sure that, well, better nobody don't get it until the investigation run its course. I don't think that's the right stance to take anyway, because as sitting ducks out here, people need their fuel. Let me put it like that, right? He said he didn't take it lightly, but he knew it was something he needed to act upon. He added, in the meantime, it just so happened that Griffith's contract had ended. So he's talking about it being in the midst of the looking for somebody else and Griffith contract coming to end, right? He said, in the meantime, it just so happened that Griffith's contract had ended, and in all the confusion, he didn't get back inside there. Because there's no way that I could be expected to say, yes, mister, come back to the police to be commissioner of police, because the enterprise is missing. Your enterprise is missing you. What you're referring to as enterprise seemed in this article to be the FUL racket enterprise. So your boy is missing you. You hire people. We went through that in terms of hiring people who did not go through the normal process of hiring and the FUL racket. So there's a whole, I mean, the article is in the Express, right? Just look for PM. It was me. It's in the Monday Express. But I just found it to be even more in support of the original point I was making when this story came out, that we have to get to the point as a country where we have a system of putting up a commissioner in place that is not in the direct control of the leader of the government. And when I say in direct control, yes, you have a police service commission, but you still have to submit a list. And one of the instructive statements he said there is not, he didn't say, well, Parliament can put him back into place, which would include government and opposition. He said, I cannot put him back in place. So which means he basically admitting that it comes down to the Prime Minister. And I want us to be mindful that we're in a country that all of us complain about how corrupt the country is. So when the country is so corrupt, you have to look at these things. You have to try to identify, okay, the corruptible nature of this country. Should we be putting so much power into one person's hand? I don't think so at all. I think I always talk about this, the Prime Minister being a king. The Prime Minister could do what he wants because everybody is instructed and under duress, I would say, to toe the party line. So he could say, I can't put a fella back here until him come back, because he know everybody who under him have to vote how he voting. And by design, the way the system is designed, once he have everybody voting with him, they could pass these things. And God forbid we ever go back to a situation where the government here have a special majority. They can do whatever they want. They don't. The opposition has no check and balance to offer, except a set of old talk by people like Wade Mark and Doubles for Breakfast Man and Roberts to come and talk about things. That's the only check and balance that they have. And boy, check and balance this opposition does. Because if there's anything, if I saw somebody put a video the other day on what was the issue, boy? Or the Venezuelan migrants. Somebody put a there was Kamala talking about Venezuelan migrants needing to be open and coming into the country, and how the PNM don't care and they letting them die and all this kind of thing. And Wade Mark at the same time talking about we learn too much Venezuelans and they're just opposing. Whatever the government position is, they're opposing. But they teach them that, right? And that might be healthier for the society than we think. But that's my take on Griffith. And we'll continue to follow that situation, because I just want you to remember that while we're trying to sort out this issue, we still have an acting commissioner of police. And we going back, and a year go past and 2 years go past, and then all of a sudden we will have many, many years of an acting commissioner of police and no police commissioner in place in a country where crime is one of the biggest situations. You know what I mean? We all worried about the crime. But then again, Guardian have a whole savior that we could be turning to take us out of this crime situation. So, reading from the Express, Trini heads to Ukraine for freedom fight. Salute to this. Come on. I say I ain't talking about the war, you talk about the war. Nearly 20,000 volunteers, foreign volunteers, have signed up to fight in war-torn Ukraine against Russia's invasion. UNC activist and business development consultant Brian Stone is one of the volunteer combatants who is now prepared to battle side by side with the Ukrainians and for freedom against Russia's President Vladimir Putin invading army. Salute. You know, when I see Brian, I thought it was Brian Hero, man. I thought it was my boy Brian going to fight with Brian Stone, apparently. Stone will be TNT's first volunteer to fight in Ukraine's front line if he achieves his goal. He says, the decision didn't come from the brain, but from my heart. You have a heart of Stone. Stone admitted in a telephone interview to Guardian. So far, it is a go. You have to look at it for what it is. He says, knowing fully well that anything can happen to him during this intended month stay. A month. So Stone going to fight this war for a month. You know, what if Stone willing to be commissioner, boy? Because if you're willing to fight and go quite to Ukraine to fight for these people, I feel we should consider Stone for the new commissioner of police. There's no FUL racket that could happen under Stone. I don't see it here already. Stone served in the Canadian Army Forces Reserves. Stone, he was in the reserves. Is the bench he was on, Stone? Alright, he was on the bench. Okay, in the reserves, he has already put contingencies in place. He said, I understand very clearly the risks. I am not stupid. If Russian soldiers show up there, Stone. When this article from? This had to be from a long time. What do you mean, if Russian soldiers show up there? What's the date of it? This is Sunday, March the 13th. Stone, the Russians are already there. What are you talking about, Stone? Let me go back again. I understand the risks very clearly. I am not stupid. Did you read out on that? If Russian soldiers show up there, I will have to fight. What is this man talking about? I am prepared to do so. The only thing I am fearful of is if shots are fired, there are explosions or bombs should drop. Stone. You know, I can't deal with this. Why I put this down? I should have never put it. From now on, I promise that I'm going to read all the articles before I come to record, because I would not talk about this, you know. Stone say, I'm going to try to read this paragraph one more time. He opens the paragraph by saying, I understand very clearly the risks. And I am not stupid. That's his opening. But then he goes on to say, if Russian soldiers show up there, we will have to fight. There's another captain obvious. If I am prepared to do so. He's prepared to fight. But the only thing he worried about is if shots fired and it have explosions or a bomb should drop, you'll be a little worried. So you gonna slingshot David and Goliath this situation, Stone? What the hell is wrong with you? Because your name is Stone don't mean you could take no slingshot over there. It's Russia. This is war. The Russians are already there. Shots are firing. What the hell is wrong with you? You talking about if shots should fire. So what's your plan when you go over there? What you gonna do a reasoning war? So when you see people, you're gonna say, hey, my name is David Stone. What your name? Sean Stone? Must be Sharon Stone. Brian Stone. Hey, my name is Brian. I wonder if you're going on carnival mode. It's out. Like, my name is Brian. Where are you from? Well, you shouldn't be fighting, man. You know what I mean? Let me stop the war. You know, in the famous words of singing Sandra, nobody wins a war. You know what I mean? Let's reason this out. You know, to play all fours. Let me show you how to play some all fours. What the hell is this man talking about? If shots are fired and there are explosions or a bomb should drop. He hope he can handle it, brother. I've already signed over a number of things to my wife. This is the greatest paragraph ever written in journalist history. Who the hell write this article? Shaliza Hassan Ali, you is the greatest journalist of all time. This is the most given paragraph I've ever seen. The man say in the end, he done sign over thing to your wife, so he know you're going dead. Because, all right, at least you know you're going dead. He knows if he loses his life or when, he will not be covered by his insurance policy. Hey, oh God, hey. There's too much. Stone admits his decision is not sitting well with his immediate family and close friends, but more so his worried wife. My wife is not happy at all, he sighed. Brian, I don't feel your wife was happy before. I just get the sense that your wife not happy in general. I could be wrong, eh? I don't feel your wife happy at all. If you reach to this conclusion, I cannot imagine what the dinner table talk is like at your household. Even a soldier would be lying if they said he's not afraid. Brian is not a soldier. He was on the bench in the Canadian Army. He was a reserve. I never heard Canada fight a war yet. And he wasn't in the main army. He was in the bench. I fear the unseen. Let me compose myself, right? Only I done record after this, and I'm not going to talk. What else I had to talk about? Let me just make sure nothing else to talk about because I'm done. I cannot go through this. Oh no, it's a few things to talk about here still. I want to come off this topic, The man say even a soldier would be lying if they say they're not afraid. He fears the unseen. There's no way I can cover from an explosion. Brian, you know what you'd be able to cover from an explosion? If you was actually a soldier, you might have something called training and tools that could cover you from an explosion. But since you knows nothing, I am worried. Why they name this freedom fighter? I am worried about that. If it turns to mostly a guerrilla warfare, well, it is over for people like me. Where the hell this man come from, boy? He getting his information from Fortnite and Call of Duty. Is this man a gamer? He had to be a gamer. He had to be playing games. I wonder if he get a PS5 or something. Because I want to sign up. I want to find out who's this man's wife. Because if he leave a PS5 for the wife, I know she ain't playing no PS5. Brand wife, I could buy a PS5 off for you. Because clearly this man is playing games. He's not for real. This man saying if it turns in mostly guerrilla warfare. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? You live in your good house. Your bed wet. Why you guys like that? I don't understand this. He will have to leave. No, you're not going to leave. You're going to die, Brian. To stay, you will get... So wait. Why the Guardian put this as a front page story on a big Sunday? It had nothing else to write about. This man say, if it turns out to be guerrilla warfare, it will be over for people like me. He will have to leave. To stay, you will get killed. So what are you going for? You don't watch any news, you're not seeing what's going on? Should he die doing volunteerism work, Stone knows his body will also not return to it. Lolly, at first I'd find this was funny, but that's just as sad. The man say, let the Ukrainian government dispose of it. That's what they'll do anyway. Listen, Brian's experience with war is clearly limited to stories you would get from actual Canadian soldiers, Call of Duty and Fortnite, and maybe a couple war movies. Maybe he watched Saving Private Ryan and these kind of things, you know what I mean? He still let the Ukrainian go. Stone, who's a dual citizen of TNT and Canada, is hoping to depart in 2 weeks, having no warfare skills, and with age and strength already against him. Stone said the Ukrainian army may not put him on the front line. I don't know. So, Stone, you are no contact or nothing. When I first see this article, I saw the man link with somebody over there. So, what are you going for? When you reach in the airport, what's your plan? What's your plan when you reach there? You gonna just look for army man and say, soldier, I come to help all your fights. Boy, Stone, you're going to get shot from the Ukrainians themselves. I'm going to take you out of your misery from the time you land over there. What's this man? What is he talking about? This for real? Guardian covered this as a story in the papers and put it on the front page. When Stone enters the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense base, Stone, you're not getting into no Ministry of Defense base? What is this? But this. I'm going to get through this. He will be assessed and assigned to a designated area. I will probably be given a part of a city, hopefully more in the western end, where the Russians are not 100% there yet. But I will have to go where they put me. This is a mental health story. This had to be one of them things where we're looking at people's mental health, and this can't be for real. Following weeks of brutal bombardments and airstrikes in Kiev, which Brian clearly does not know about, would have led to growing deaths, injuries, and thousands of citizens fleeing, Stone has made up his mind to battle Russia's armed forces who continue to wreak havoc on Ukrainians with this. Stone, you could stay here. Look at crime we have here. Why don't you start here? Maybe get up your war experience by handling some situations we have here, you know. Here it's a Rasta city and Muslim. Maybe you could intervene there. Like, pick a side, because clearly you just pick a side over there. You're going to fight these people war. So pick a side here and deal with some local warfare first. Like, get your numbers up, you know what I mean? You build up your strength. Just like in Call of Duty and thing, you know what I mean? Build up your experience first before you run out there. Now. Don't go and fight abroad yet. What else he say? He says, so far, I think I'm the only Trinidadian going there for good reason. I did some checking and found no one. However, Zelensky's call for help was not Stone's motivating factor. Stone was pushed to enroll for the battlefront when he saw on television an innocent child being murdered by Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers putting guns in the hands of mothers and the elderly to defend their country. Stone, little children getting killed right here. Maybe you should help some mothers right here, you know what I mean? Another reason is to help Ukrainians free themselves from tyranny and return to TNT with that experience and spirit in defense of this country's democracy. Don't laugh. I value democracy, the principles that a government must serve the will of the people, which connects to what is happening and the concerns and issues I have with our government that exists. Okay, all right, I see in UNC activism coming out here. This is just a story. You ain't going no place. You just wanted to say this. This is what I wanted to say in the beginning. I feel the people are not being served that our democracy and constitutional right. Brian, you could have skipped to this part, man. I didn't realize it was just an anti-Rowley thing. Oh, what they say? Stone, who lost a defamation lawsuit against Prime Minister Keith Rowley in 2020 and was ordered to pay $350,000, believes that the government is becoming more authoritarian, which I see as a threat. I'm also concerned with what's happening in Trinidad, especially what's going on with Nicolas Maduro. And you're all right, Brian. This is where you was trying to get. All right, Stone, I understand you. I get you now. You want us? You must even pay none of this $350. Let me see the part where come with the money to go Ukraine now, because I'm sure it has some kind of award that he trying to get to help pay off. Is that you trying to get help to pay off? Soon as already registered as a volunteer with the Ukrainian embassy in the United Kingdom and was informed of what combat gears he needs to work with. Still none of the gears. Soon have no gears. I could guarantee you. Here was the gears he need. A bulletproof vest, a helmet, a laser scope, which is a device attached to a firearm to aid target acquisition, a sleeping bag, winter clothes, night vision goggles. Stone don't have none of them things. He said the body armor is expensive. It's about $1,200 US to $1,400 a plate. I need 2 plates. The tickets are about $5,000. Stone, this could have go towards the $350, you know. If you go and spend, let me add this up here. That's $1,600 US plus $5,000. $6,600 US is about what in TT? That's nearly $50,000. You could have paid off a $50 and then you're only at $300 for Rowlers. But you gonna buy 2 plates of righteousness. That is what you think it's in. You think it's breastplate of righteousness and sword like the Bible. This is what you thinking. In preparation for any eventuality, Stone will register for a 2-day tactical. The hell is this I reading here, boy? Who in the Guardian have an editor, or you could just put up what you want? This man say he registering for a 2-day tactical course in Florida on his way to Ukraine. So en route, he taking a layover in Florida and do a tactical course. And buy 2 breastplates of righteousness and a Bible and head over there. His expenses are estimated at $12,000 US, some of which he's already raised through generosity of his family, friends. You see, this is the thing, he's always talk about this in entrepreneurship classes. The first people you could get money from before you go by the bank and thing is what we call friends, family, and fools. When you're going to start a business, they call them FFF, friends, family, and fools. And this is just who Stone turned to get money. So he done raise the $12,000. He said, for my safe haven, I must have a contingency fund. If I get injured, Ukraine is probably not going to handle it. Ain't no probably about it, Brian. You're going to die on those streets. I would have to get to a Polish hospital. Not going to make it. You're going to die. You need some cash. This can't be for real. All I need is to get the funding in place so I can buy my ticket, my gears. Brian, you don't have the money to buy your stuff. It's broken. You're broken. Wait. You have no tactical experience. You're broken. You have no gears. You're going to have a 2-day course. He say, all I need is to get the funding in place so I can buy my ticket, gears, and do the... You don't even have the money to pay for the course? And the reserve cash and me and I'm gone. Somebody, please, appealing to the people who listen to this podcast. Let us start a GoFundMe for Brian. Now, these are the kind of people who we need to get out of here. If we could raise the money for Brian, let Brian go now. And I want Brian's family who give him the money to, I want them to go to. So wait, if you need all this money, what money your family and them get? They had to have given you money to pay for this article. It had to be the money for the article itself that they give you the money and they say, listen, we go pay for the article in the Guardian for you. Since you're a fool. And nobody would print this. Stone promised his family that he would not stay beyond 30 days. So were you Rambo? So you just going to take 30 days and end the situation? He said, he can't afford it. I'm not going for a long time because I can't afford it. A month there is a long time. The war could be over by then, right. Some of the conflict should the conflict intensify, Stone says he'll flee. Stone is a vacation you're looking for? I don't know if it's like he just want to leave or... I was saying Stone wife don't like him, but I feel Stone even like your wife neither. Stone going to a lot of length here to get away from your wife, you know what I mean? If it becomes a situation where the Russians are bombing the hell out of the West and people are getting killed, I can go to some people who live at the Polish border where I could safely stay. Keeping fingers crossed that all goes well. I'm optimistic. Stone say, I'll be back. I know I'll be back. God's willing. Stone, I just want to let you know that God's not willing. You're going to die. Keep yourself here. Sort out your issues with your wife. You know what I mean? Don't go in no war zone. I will say when I see this article, the first thing come to me is, all right, this is the kind of person who we would want to be a commissioner of police because it's somebody we could trust who Rowlers might not have no problem with. You know, we could get him to fight these wars. If you could go quite Ukraine to fight, but you're completely unequipped, Stone. You have nothing going on, and you know, Guardian's so wicked. They're meant for a picture of they say here a Ukraine soldier digs a foxhole in Irpin on the outskirts of Kiev as they prepared for defense against the Russians, and they have a man in full battle gear digging a hole. And I thought that was Brian Stone. I thought Brian Stone done, you know what I mean? When they say Trini heads to Ukraine for freedom fight, that sounded like the man prepared. This man didn't have $1. He broken like hell. He had no experience. He looking for money to go and pay for a tactical course. So I tell myself, but this picture is very, very well selected when you think about it, because this should really be a picture of Brian Stone digging your own damn grave and go and lie down. And you should, when you dig your own grave, Brian, you should cover yourself to one time before you're dead, because you out of here. And pay Rowley $350 and stop playing the fool, because everybody don't know. Is it 350 you're trying to raise to pay off the Prime Minister? You're a defamation character. And I never understood, like, you ever notice something when somebody, because very early in the article, they identified him as a UNC activist. So this is not my words, right? I want to observe something about UNC activists, right? It's just my own observation. You ever notice people who call themselves UNC activists always very foreign-minded? Like, they know about every other battle everywhere in the world. They know about Maduro. They know why they don't like Biden. They don't know why. You know, they have this narrative that they spew about everything that happened in every other country. But better you stay here and fight Muslim versus Rasta and try and let me get this country settled down. So let me make the commissioner of police the most unimportant post in the country, because the country is so peaceful that the police have nothing to do. The police come like the Maytag repairman. Better you focus on that, because you was basically, back in the day, we used to call you a kek. He's a kek. Financial freedom fighter. Before you say and fight for your own financial freedom, you broken like hell and can't pay off your bills. We should be a financial freedom fighter. Well, let me move on. What else do you have there? As I'm talking about war zone, I want to get into a war zone between man and woman real quick before we get out here, right? Man and woman have a little war zone that we typically partake in and play this war zone game. Let me see what let me see if I could find this war zone thing between man and woman. Well, listen to this, huh?
Men love to talk about how much it sucks to be put in the friend zone, but can we talk about how it feels to be a woman and realize that you didn't have an actual friend? You just had somebody looming over you, waiting for you to agree with them.
So this was a thing going around the socials the other day, right? So she basically saying that woman is the greatest thing. Abuja said it, and a woman is the greatest thing God ever put on this land. So the woman say here going on. We always like to complain about being put in the friend zone, but how would it feel to be a woman thinking you have a genuine friend waiting, and it have a man who just, all he was doing was lurking, waiting to get ones? Let me tell you something. Women know fully well when they power man and they want to wicked. You know what the song says? They want wicked. All they fully well know when all they friend zoning a man. Friend zoning had nothing to do with me and you as friends, and I looking for something out of the friendship. Although As men, we really do that a lot. So when you think about that, maybe I should admit that, because only friend, if you slip, you slide, yes. In man brain, is that? But a man who is a friend who looking, right? He's not looking, he's a genuine friend. And a lot of times as men, you say to, boy, let me don't go there because I go mash up the friendship. You know what I mean? As men, I know we've been in situations like these before where you say, listen, let me don't bother. Because if we go down this road here, it's not coming back. You know what I mean? Let me just maintain the friendship and move forward. So a man who is a genuine friend, not looking for nothing. The friend zone is when you have a woman, she know you're interested in her. You come out and you say, listen, you like them and this and that, and they have you there, and they call you all bae, and they put you up as a man crush, and you dry like hell. Everybody know what a friend zone is. So I find this statement where they try to flip the script here and make it sound like if a man just looking. Lurkers is lurkers and friend zone, man is friend zone. Lurkers don't get no friend zone. What lurkers is do, as a former lurker myself, is I will hang around and do all kind of nice things for you. Until you slip, you slide. When you and your man have problems and you feeling sad or you're a little vulnerable mode and them kind of thing you're looking for inside. That I could understand. Men have done that. Don't associate lurkers like myself with friend zoners. Friend zoners is them. And listen, I know some partners who get some dread friend zone, you know, where I on the phone with you for hours. I had to get you something for Valentine's. You didn't get me nothing for the Valentine's, but I gave you a chocolate and thing. And you clearly, the friend zone happens to a fellow who too shy to come out in the open and say, listen, I like you and I want to be with you and all them things. Because if you come out and you say that, and I want to say this to men who in the friend zone too, it don't matter how long you stay in that zone and how nice you treat that woman in that zone. And if that woman not on you, stop sending all them sort of chocolate and flowers unless you just, don't send it with no intention. Just give her, because you're never going to get in. You're never going to get through. So years after, men who get friend zone is be vexed. and they say, well, you use me, and woman they use you. Some of them use you too, you know. Let me make a distinction between the one who using you and the one who ain't using you, right? It have some women who will tell you when you start to give gifts and you start to come around often, they will say, listen, I just want you to know, I realize you're going down a road here and you're trying to be boyfriend and them kind of thing. And I not on that, you know. So you say you could buy things, cool, we could go out to dinner if you want to take me out, you could do all that, but we not on that level. Most men who just get friend zone, they say, nah, I not on that, we just friends. Real men who get friend zone is call themselves friend too, you know, bestie, and no woman can call me a bestie. In my head, what should we talk about bestie? I not nobody bestie, but I not going through that. So a certain man cannot get no friend zone. I is one. I don't know if you use one, but I is one. I'm not taking. I could get a friend with benefit zone. I get that before. And your friend with benefit zone where I know me ain't gonna be a man and me ain't gonna be thing, but it's benefit. Benefit for benefit. Or we'll call it our arrangement zone. I could live in a little arrangement zone, but it has to be mutual benefit. I ain't going through that with nobody. Too old for that. So when with them men who get friend zone, it have women who will come out and tell you, listen, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And you say, nah, it's okay, I like buying your flowers. And when you do that and you get your friend zone, don't be vexed 25 years down the road where you come out and you say you're in love. Because them friend zone, man, them in love. And you come out and you say you're in love and you get blank. Them will remind you about it. Don't remember in the 70s when I tell you I wasn't on that. And say, nothing is going to change. I don't know why men feel like if better you come as a man, and I always like doing that too. I go come around and we go thing. But from the time I get the first inkling that this not going nowhere, or the first move I make and I realize it's a shutdown, we're going to have a conversation. And like I say, I ain't having no phone conversation and no time to old for them things. Since back then I old. I come in and I sit down, pull in that chair, and you have to sit down in front of me with that chair. You have to face me and watch me in my face. And I saying, hey, here what's going on? I like you. Bad. And I starting to feel some kind of way about you. And I realize when I make my move the other day, I think, what is the situation? Where we is friends? Or what we is? And the reason I doing that is not preventing myself future heartbreak because I ain't spending no money on flowers. But remember the econ lesson we do the other day? I have limited resources, like every other human being, right? So I have limited time, I have limited money, and I have limited energy. And women is be vexed when you tell them this too, you know. Because I don't want to give you none. You don't want to spend no more money? No, I don't want to spend no more money. None, not a cent. I go say it on behalf of all mankind. I don't want to spend a cent more because I have limited resources. And there's this thing called opportunity cost. So when I spend in my money, and the money might be less consequential than the time and the energy. Yeah? I spending all my time and energy behind you, and this not going nowhere. I could be doing this elsewhere. It's not that I'm using you or I buying things for you to get something in return. It's just that everything I buy for you have an opportunity cost. So I know I can't go on a date this month because I spent $1,000 on flowers to give you, and I have intention and you have none. And all my flowers money going in this. So I see somebody nice now, and I go on and I talk to them and I say and she say, all right, we could go out sometime. But me have a scent like Brian Stone to carry this woman on a date who's showing some kind of interest in me. I don't see how come women don't understand this. Or it's too wicked. Wickedness in high places, you call it. About friend zone. You cannot friend zone me because I garden my money, my time, and my energy. They're my resources. I cannot spend all. I could spend some of my time and my energy and my resources on you, and my time. What it is, time, energy, and money is my resources. I could spend some of that on you, but I'm not going to spend the lion's share on that if we just going to remain friends when I'm looking for somebody to live, and you not letting me live. So what we doing this for? Where we going? This going somewhere? It's not going nowhere. So I not taking no friend zones. I having that conversation, but friend zone man don't like to have them conversation. Them feel like it ease their way in forever and ever. But you see that statement where, and listen, I don't like the woman in the video that you know. I don't like how she had to be tying up her head when she talk. So you know this TikTok thing with them and talking, but she tying up her head in a way like she ready for battle. And I don't, if you're ready for battle, you come to the right place to get battle. I don't like it. They have another type of woman now who not going and tell you no. Then they playing on the fact that you know he is a shy guy. And you're not going to come out and say, because I'm another man like myself going and say, hey, here what's going on. I'm not so crude to say, hey, my money's spending, you know. What's going on? I'm not so crude because that is not how I'm thinking either. I'm not thinking like my money's spending and I ain't getting nothing in return. I'm thinking more like I spending all this energy behind you and all this time and all this money. And it ain't going nowhere. Let me know if to direct my energies elsewhere. Let me move on. We could be friends, but I'm not spending the whole night talking to you, and I could spend that night talking to somebody who like me back. What the hell I doing that for? But some of them women is preying on the shy guy. The shy guy don't really want to come out and tell you he want to live. Because the shy guy don't want to live neither. You know, the shy guy not like me. The shy guy probably want to get married and he's seen a whole future. That's why it's so hurtful. You know? I have to explain why it's so hurtful. Because she wants to know why we is be hurt. This is why we is be hurt. So we playing thing, and then you have me in boyfriend mode. You're carrying me everywhere. We going on dates. I paying for this. I paying for that. Woman might pay for some of the things sometimes to be. You can't pay for my energy and my time. That's why I say the money is the least one. So I spending all this time at doing this or doing that. And then this same woman who fully, because she know the life, she fully well know what it is when a man interested in you and what a man will do. And because no man ain't going and spend no set of hours on the phone hearing about all your set of problems, and I not doing that unless, of course, it's going somewhere. You think? And I'm not gonna be, you want to carry me. And then woman is some woman conversation with man too. I tell woman that all the time. I tell Stacy that a matter of fact. We married and I tell another all the time. She be coming, but Corey, you know, this month I was under this pain and cramp. I was like, hey, Andrea, phone busy or something? What's going on? So you go, why I's not the best person to have this conversation with because I have no such experience or thing. You could vent to me and you could do all them things, but don't expect no sort of response. I think, I'm conditioned and so something. Why I had to be? I don't know more this. You know, so you if you want to talk about, I have some expertise in some other areas. If you want to talk about that, I could talk to you about it. But otherwise, wrong man. You're knocking on the wrong door. You ain't gonna get no good advice here. If you just want to talk, I go listen. But that's about it. So, women, the second type of woman fully well know that fella interested. But what they're doing is deliberately stringing that fella along. Because the person who they're really interested in, not on them, they're home and they're lonely, they know that person not talking to them is because he talking to some other woman. So the friend zone, man, now I go stay up whole night while you're depressed to hear all your depressing stories about how depressing your life is and thing. And when you feel like to go out and enjoy yourself, and worse in this Instagram age, I'm so glad I come out the game before this time. So now I could carry you out and you could take all kind of picture, all kind of fancy glass and wine and strawberry and thing. And I did like a clown in about friends and bestie. And then when it's my birthday, now you're posting me up, friends for life, FFL, and you know FFL me. When I say FFL at you. I not playing these games. So that woman who make that thing is disingenuous. She wicked. To talk about is man who all your woman know clearly what friend zone is. You see, this is a trend that really corrupt, because this woman corrupt. And again to realize now, right? As we on this topic, I starting to accept that woman really do like man. Only do like man. I convinced now, woman do like man in this life. Woman, the only focus of a woman in this life is other women. A woman who they dislike, or woman who is friends with. Them living for other women. And so with man, the woman don't like man whatsoever. So when you think they take a picture with you, and when them put picture with you and you dress up nice and you thing and they say, hey, thing, happy birthday, baby, together for so long, and this, them doing that to show their other girlfriends that they have man. And no, you are none. That the girl, because them I only have friends that I like. I have people I don't like, and I have friends. I have people who I just know. So it's three zone with man. It's the friend brethren zone, me and you good. It's the zone where I don't like you, so you have to stay away from me. And it's the zone where you just are wrong. I know you're from a wrong. That's the WhatsApp zone. And you see them, we've seen everything good, boy. All right. That is it. No sort of long talk, no sort of nothing. Me and you ain't nothing. And then the ones who ain't like at all, we don't pass one another straight. We don't want to be in the same place. When you come, I gone. And vice versa. And then we are with brethren. But women have a different kind of setup, because I have no friends who I don't like. And I know friends who don't like me. But women have friends who don't like them. And women have friends who they don't like at all. That's your friend, baby. So we as men don't understand these concepts. Those things are above our pay grade. I don't understand it at all. You know what I mean? So you see this kind. So when them take that picture with you and then put up as boyfriend and you dress up nice and you thing and all you hug up on the thing, anniversary 10 years, they put it up to show the friends and them who they don't like. Look at you and look at me. Look at your life and look at my life. Look in the mirror and you see hardship. Look at my life and you see greatness. That's what these women do. And purple kind of thing quote about this and that. And listen, and I have another theory too. As we done on man, I go explore all this, because I'm planning to get a Cassia of Devata. A long time I ain't talked to a Cassia, I had to go record with a Cassia sometimes so we could pause that episode, because a Cassia is the one who wants to post this, and I want to talk to her about this, because anytime I see a woman posting this, that means you're friend zoning, man, and then we have a conversation. But my last theory before I get off this is that the happier you see a woman is on Instagram, is the more she hates her life. Quite tell you. The more pose and the more quotes and the more smiles and the more energy and my vibration and all this energy, and them hate the life. They want to jump off a building. Listen, take my word for it. I just observe it for myself over time. I know I'm standing on my own here, but the happier people looking on social media is the more these people want to be out of here. So before I get out of here, what else I have to talk about on this thing, boy? Sports. I don't talk about sports enough. Since we don't offer these women and things, we talk about sports and things. Well, before I get to sports, let me talk about Sadhguru and Marshall. I want to salute two of them too. I realize like they leave out March Blackburn. But apparently the World Tour start, and I saw them in Antigua, I believe. I saw them in Guyana and in Barbados while I recording this too. So salute. I kind of just like the idea of Marshall and Sadhguru being together. I don't know why, because I'm not sure. And part of me, and maybe it's just my suspicious nature. Maybe I was a cynic and a suspicious guy. But anybody who know about Sadhguru before, like I don't know him before Marshall, is the first time I ever really see who he is and thing. He legit and thing, boy. He alright. He pure. He cool. Cause I don't like how he and Marshall parading around this whole place with them and saving soil. I still can't figure out like what wrong with the soil, and if we're running out of soil or the soil washing away, or why we need to save the soil. But I just find like Marshall is our national hero or the Republic awardee to come, right? Like, yeah, I hope Sadhguru is no swindler or nothing, you know. I ain't trying to paint him in no bad light, but remember people that love Jim Jones and things in Guyana and these kind of things, and you know, Joel Osteen, they say Joel Osteen, the plumber find about $1 million in Joel Osteen wall hide up the other day. I just want to make sure that Sadhguru is not no smart man. Next thing you know, you hear Marshall in his giving to saving the soil, give up his whole catalog. And now Soca is owned by Sadhguru and he turned out to be some kind of, you know what I mean? I'm stopping just short of using the word cult leader because I don't want to make no accusations or nothing. But I just want to be sure that Marshall in good hands. So anybody knew about this Sadhguru before? Or is Marshall, you know what I mean? Or what is the situation here? Anyway, in sports, I am worried. I think this is what we should get Brian Stone to fight for. Because I only know as a Chelsea fan, right? And with this Russian sanction, I have issued the Russian sanctions. I don't want to get into this thing with these white people. You know? I really don't. But let's be wary of these things when we so easily choose sides based on what countries saying, and we think we get Russia invade. Imagine England. I want you to just Google history of England and read up on it, right? Find the shortest article you could read on the history of England or the history of the Commonwealth. And then go and read the fact that England is sanctioning Russian citizens in England because Russia invade Ukraine. Now, listen, the self-righteousness in this world is surreal and it is beyond me. There's no country in the world who's responsible for more invasions than anybody of other countries, of other sovereign territories, and claiming those sovereign territories for themselves than England. A matter of fact, they still have countries. Remember just this year or late last year, we were talking about Barbados becoming a republic because it's still basically under the Queen. These people invade all the countries in the world and keep it for themselves. Look at the history of England and India. So it is... And maybe this is why we should just keep politics out of sports completely. Because now as a football player, I had to come on a weekend. I had to kneel for Black Lives Matter, put a fist up for Ukraine, a moment of silence for the people. It's just too many statements. And then you have this selective nature of things that we have to collectively be a part of, whether I believe in it or not. And it's just... So I think that happened again, I feel for people in Ukraine. I just not interested in that war. I mean... It's like any other war. It's useless. It's futile. All it's doing is taking lives away. But there are so many other conflicts and wars around the world, or let me say in Africa, that nobody pays any attention to, and we just go along like business as usual. But all of a sudden now, all the social media platforms have a stand for Ukraine, and you know, like where's the stance when they had people who was fighting to get over the border to get into Germany when they had strife in Africa. But anyway, I don't want to get into that too much. But the point I'm trying to make is England is sanctioning any Russian citizen in England, and Roman Abramovich, who's the owner of Chelsea, turned out to be one of them people. So now he is sanctioned. He's put the club up for sale and gone back to Russia because he can't come in England. And now Chelsea can't do business. They can't sell players. They can't buy players. They can't loan out people. They can't take people on loan. They freeze bank accounts. So people say now they're not sure. So I interviewed Petr Cech. That man say, I want to say it come down to a bunch of nothing. Although it was a good interview, he couldn't say anything because he don't know when exactly, or if salaries will be paid, they wouldn't be paid, how they're moving forward as a club, what kind of business they could do in the summer or whatever. There's so little that they could get done in this time. And I just find the whole thing, it's like England have the moral authority to tell one country not to. And you know, there's the thing there's gas here with. When this come out, people going to say, well, look how long in the past that was. Okay, England don't invade nobody again. But the Commonwealth still exists. Like, you had to ask England for your independence and your republic. There's a process by which you had to separate yourself, and the Queen is still the Queen of the whole Commonwealth and them kind of things. And I don't know, maybe I just don't understand enough about it and what was the purpose of the invasion and stuff. I don't want to understand too much about it neither. I against the idea of wars on a whole for whatever reason. I don't see the purpose of it, except little $150 barrel oil and them kind of thing, right? I don't see the purpose of it overall, so it's not something that I will ever get into. As a matter of fact, Zachary know more about this war in Ukraine than me, because he seems to be waking up every morning to rush for TV to find out about Ukraine and these things. But I'm a little worried. I don't like the way things going with Chelsea. So as much as I try to ignore the war, I think it hit home for me because it affects the football. And week to week, I looking at the games, wondering like, where's these players' state of mind? And I also feel for the players in the Ukrainian players in England, because I saw, was it Yarmolenko? One of them scored a goal or two over the weekend. And he was so emotional when he scored the goal, because, of course, he's studying. I was talking to my brother last week in that episode with Janelle and them about him having Ukrainian friends. This man is the most worldly man I know. I'm 20-something years old, and he was sitting studying next to a Ukrainian friend. And I'm thinking, boy, she must be having a rough time now. Just knowing that not just your family and your friends, but your home country could be being torn apart by war. I can't imagine anything like that in Trinidad. But, once we have Bryanston here, we okay, right? That would be, we'll never have that here with somebody like him marshalling the troops, you know what I mean? But I just find that England and America and them stands on this America telling people about invading countries. Okay, all right. So, anyway, it's done 2 hours. So I'm going to get out of here. But not before I play the great, great singing Sandra. Yes.
Devastation and destruction from ever since time began has been inflicted time and again by man against fellow man. Yet man wouldn't learn from history. It makes him more violent, producing deadly weaponry with nothing but evil intent. So the war could never be over. Peace will never be seen, long as man in his quest for power keep destroying fellow human beings. Fellow human beings. I'm telling you, nobody. Agony of defeat will linger. Nations still hating one another and superpowers. They're looking for more power. As long as violence and aggression still dwell in the hearts of man, brother, the war will go on. It cannot be won. No, the war will go on. It cannot be won. Fallout from war is chaos. Plenty agony, plenty pain. Economies left in shambles that may never rise up again. Collapse of the money system, disruption of foreign trade. People turning against their leaders for the blunders that they have made. Environmental pollution, radiation taking its course, and the thousands that die in battle. Oh, what a waste of human resource. Of course, I'm telling you, nobody, oh, nobody. When you really think of it, nobody wins a war. The brutal clash of ideologies, carnage and social anarchy, and life reduced to pitiful dimensions. The falling back of progress and growth for entire generation. Sister, the war will go on. It cannot be won. No, the war will go on. It cannot be won. what does it profit the masses? I mean laymen like me and you. While the leaders playing their chess games, using the masses as pawn with political propaganda. The massacre still goes on. The soldiers, they never start it, but they give their lives easily. While the leaders are in a safe place working out strategy. So you see, I'm telling you, nobody, oh nobody. When you really look at it, nobody wins a war. It has been the passage of history with the blood of the weak and the mighty. Great cultures vanish completely. War can create and destroy political boundaries as it goes on. Sister, it cannot be won. The war will go on. No, the war will go on.
It cannot be won.
Object of war is simple.
Listen, when I listen to Calypso, right? Let me do a Kaiso thing before I get out here. When I listen to Calypso, it defeats me as to why children don't learn these Calypsos in school. You know what I mean? When you listen to a song like Late Great Singing Sandra, right? Of course. But when you listen to songs like that in terms of lyrical quality, delivery, the relevance, because I don't know what year that song would have been. That would have been in the 90s, but that's in the 2000s. I'll go help me with that. But the thing about it is those songs so relevant. Like when I play that Super Blue earlier in terms of how it sound now, or Blue Boy, or how it sound in today's world. That sounding fresh in 2023, this Sandra now. And it's so relevant to what's going on in Ukraine. So, if you're looking for any coverage of the war thing, all you know, you're looking at the wrong guy, right? That's not for me. Now, as much as we talk about Super Blue and winning the national, what I'm proud of, I'm happy to know that a St. James boy. All right. You get point forth in there, a little props, right? But Super Blue, a St. James resident, getting a national award, and by all means, for me, by any account, it's supposed to be an Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, where Super Blue deserve the highest award that this land have to offer. And I know Pelham Goddard was awarded a national award too. He right there with Super, he's supposed to have an Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. But having said all that, I want to leave all you with a Super Blue song that I talked about last week and didn't play. My girl Jill was talking about this. Jill Sampson, salute to Jill. The old Sampson squad. Happy belated to Mama Doreen again as well. But you see this unknown band that was played for Panorama as well this year. But if I had to choose, boy, Super Blue hard, to choose a favorite song from Super Blue, that is a hard one. But this definitely is one of my favorites in terms of the feel of this song. And just this sweetness, lyrical quality again, thing that children should be learning in school. Whether you're learning music, you're learning history, you're learning about culture, you're learning social studies. These songs so relevant to it. So I'll leave it all with this one, Unknown Band by Super Blue.
Pass through the savannah, playing sweet pan, oh Lord, last year Panorama, unrecognized because of their size. But boy, the tune they beat, it was much too sweet. Boy, people jump till they sweat, man, they gasping for breath. They was waving their hand inside the band. Man, if you see how much woman without man jumping to this unknown sweet band, that playing power to the whole savannah. Power, only few recover. Man, I hear Dunlop saying they want when they come in town to break it down. Alright, lay line of light, lay Diaries was made by CDC. Asking the band, oh Lord, who sang this melody? Captain Fitzroy, they told them Blue Boy. So the band got thrown out for that longing song. But people jumped till they sweat, and they gasping for breath. They was waving their hand inside the band. But if you see how much woman without man jumping to this unknown sweet band, not playing power, power to the whole savannah. Power, power, only few recover. Man, I hear Dunlop saying they want when they come in town to break it down. Alright.
They deserve an order of the Republic of Trinidad for that alone. Unknown band, right? And listen, now they put me in a super blue kind of mood too, you know. So hold this to them. Yes.
Virginia, you can't play mass without soca. You're making me sleepy, like you in for nunnery. I know your sister is one, but you ain't none. You lay like a big stone, cold like a snow cone. Wine, 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 wine. Shake up the bam bam, roll up the boom boom. Oi, oi, Virginia wine. You play yourself. Oi, oi, Virginia wine. Oi, yo, yo. I hear, oh gosh, look fun play. Wait, let me fix my brassiere. Say sweet pan in me head. Let me go fire, fire. Virginia whining, bidang, bidang, bidang when the ping pong roll. Virginia whining, bring the dang, dang, dang in she's roll. Virginia whining, party, 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 oi. Virginia whining, bring the dang, look the boom boom boy. Virginia whining, hey, 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 hey. Virginia say, give me room, I want to wine. Virginia say, I don't care, it's my behind. Women will slander, men will admire. Me and no bread and cheese, I afraid disease. She wine on the pan, man. She wine on the pan stand. Wine, 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 wine. Shake up the bam bam, roll up the boom boom. Oi, oi, Virginia wine. You play yourself. Hey, hey, Virginia wine. Boy, yo, yo. Virginia wine and show them. Do one for culture problem. Do it for all eyes to see. Let me go fire, fire. Virginia wine. Bidang, bidang, bidang when the ping pong roll.
Virginia whining. He deserves an order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for this too. He deserves an order of the Republic of Trinidad for this too.
Well, listen to my instruction. Man, I hope you're nice in your head. For the exercise go be wed. Man, it's left to right. We swinging so whole night. We swinging left to right. We swinging so everybody get down on the floor. Left to right. We swinging so whole night. We swinging left to right. We swinging so hey, hey, hey. Are you feeling my soca beat? Well, it's only because it's sweet. We will swing the soca all night. Swing until we spirit get light. Man, it's left to right. We're swinging so whole night. We're swinging left to right. We're swinging so everybody get down on the floor. Left to right. We're swinging so whole night. We're swinging left to right. We're swinging so.
So for them songs, and listen, I choose to play songs here. I ain't played none of my, I mean, if you'll go through Super Blue catalog, right, or Blue Boy catalog, all them songs I play here will be considered B-sides. You know, them is not the most popular songs or the biggest songs or anything that he sing compared to all the road marches and all them kind of thing. That you have to go through plenty song before you get to some of them songs. And let's say, you know what I mean, if you're a connoisseur of the thing, you could get to them songs. But most of the people, if you ask them for a top 10 Super Blue, they're naming none of them songs I played it today. So I would like to personally thank Super Blue for his rendered, distinguished, and outstanding service to Trinidad and Tobago. And I will see you all in next week. Bye-bye.